Since the start of this trial, Donald Trump has violated his gag order 10 times. Just this week on Monday, Trump was fined another $1,000 for doing a phone interview where he said the jury was picked so fast from a pool of 95% Democrats. Now, the judge gave him a stern warning, saying, quote, "It appears the $1,000 fines are not serving as a deterrent," which, yes, obviously, Judge. The last thing I want to do is put you in jail. You are the former president of the United States. Also true. Possibly the next president as well. But he warned Trump that his continued willful violations of this court's orders threaten the administration of justice, constitute a direct attack on the rule of law. I cannot allow that to continue. It appears the judge was right. It is not serving as a deterrent because just early this morning, Trump posted this, quote, "I have just recently been told who the witness is today." Apparently reference to Stormy Daniels. "This is unprecedented. No time for lawyers to prepare. No judge has ever run a trial in such a biased and partisan way." I should tell you the post was quickly deleted from his account. Back with me at the table, MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, former federal prosecutor Harry Litman. I should say that post, again, on the line, not a direct violation, but it is about a witness, which gets into territory. So I want to read this part. Do I have this? Do I have it? Oh, here it is. Sorry. This is the sidebar between Merchan and Todd Blanche at some point that happens. And you guys don't hear this, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're getting this later. I understand your client is upset at this point, Judge Merchan, but he is cursing. But he is cursing audibly, and he is shaking his head visually, and that's contemptuous. It has the potential to intimidate the witness, and the jury can see that. Mr. Blanche, I will talk to him. The court. So I'm speaking to you here at the bench because I don't want to embarrass him. Mr. Blanche, I will talk to him. The court, you need to speak to him. I won't tolerate that. Mr. Blanche, I will talk to him. That's pretty wild behavior from the defendant.
And yet I've seen this movie before, Chris. This is my fourth Trump trial in 12 months. And I've seen this before. I saw it at the E. Jean Carroll trial. I saw it at the civil fraud trial. Remember, Trump did not attend the first of the E. Jean Carroll trials.
Correct.
And I'll venture a guess that it went better for him for not having been there, not just because he didn't testify, but because he does stuff like this. At the second E. Jean Carroll trial, he banged his hands on the table, looked at the jury when she was testifying and said, "Never happened." Audibly, right?
You just cannot. I mean, just to be clear, take a step back. Like, absolutely you can't do that.
The judge called it what it is, contemptuous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally contemptuous.
And he's also said before that he would not find a violation of the gag order sua sponte, meaning on his own without a motion.
Right.
Obviously, what the client does in court is also not extrajudicial, as he pointed out the other day. But I think he is dead serious when he talks to Blanche, which is why you hear this repeated incantation of, "I will talk to him. I will talk to him." I don't think we saw any of that for the remainder of the day, but I think Trump is dancing on the head of a pin. The problem is the DA's office also knows that, and they know that Merchan is prepared to send Trump to jail for as little or as much time, up to 30 days, as possible. And so if they come forward with another alleged violation, they know it has to be a serious one that is worthy of the punishment that Judge Merchan has stated he's willing to impose.
But the big detail I think you'll light it is he deleted it after half an hour. He's nervous.
No, right. Yes. No, we said that.
Right.
But my point being that, right. So there is something that's happening here. Now, let me just ask the mistrial question, and then I want to get your sense of sort of the day of Stormy Daniels and how she did, because we haven't talked about Cross yet. So just quickly on the mistrial motion, he says, as a threshold matter, Mr. Blanche, I agree, there were things that would have been better left unsaid. You said he was quite pointed on that, Harry. In fact, sustained his own objection. I think the witness was a little difficult to control, but ultimately, I'm not going to give a mistrial. Is that about what you would anticipate?
At most. I mean, look, it really wasn't something that could prejudice the entire proceedings, et cetera. But he had laid down these guardrails, and that was exactly where they kept in the questioning. But it was really Stormy herself who really did go outside the answers quite a bit. So I don't think he was really flirting with the mistrial, but he wanted to, and he told the DA to take her back and caution her, shorten her answers, and she did.
I was thinking of Catherine Christian, our frequent guest here, who worked in that office in that court for 25 years, who's like, people like to cross. There's a lot of line crossing, and it's sort of, you're kind of getting as much. It's like in the playoffs, the NBA, like you're going to sort of push until you get the whistle, right? Like that's kind of the intent. So I want to get your sense. The cross seemed to me not that effective as I read it, but I was not in the room. Did you think it was effective, Lisa?
I thought there were moments in time where there were inconsistencies in her story, and she appeared to tie herself a little bit up into knots. But on the whole, the tone that the defense took with her, which was combative from the start.
And this is Susan Necheles, who hasn't done
Necheles.
a ton of witnesses in this trial.
She hasn't, and my suspicion is because she was saving herself for the two big ones today. And I expect that she'll be the one to cross-examine Michael Cohen. Susan Necheles was incredibly well prepared. She knew that book that Stormy Daniels has written inside and out, and yet it didn't quite pay off for her because she was combative with Stormy, and the tone was nasty to a point that I think the jury will ultimately find empathy. Also, Stormy did get much more succinct in her answers and almost was more emboldened by getting to answer leading questions, right? The fact that she can say false and just stop right there.
There was a few like weird kind of Perry Mason moments.
I mean, really, textbook mistakes, I got to say, on Necheles' part. You want a cross to be crisp and have the witness answer every question. Yes, correct, correct. And when you get to the point where you've implied you're lying, that's when you stop and go to the next topic.
Right.
She went for broke repeatedly.
Like, you've made it all up,
haven't you? False. Right. And then she was stuck, and there were repeated sidebars also. So her rhythm is everything on cross, and her rhythm was repeatedly broken.
It's so funny when you're in a deposition and they're asking you these questions, and you know you're saying yes succinctly because you're like, where's it going? Where's it going? Or you know that, like, yes. Oh, I know you got an idea here, right? What was your evaluation of her overall sort of credibility today in terms of what this witness meant for the case?
I thought it was strong because substantially the core of the story was sympathetic, and she substantiated everything. But I found myself not certain. I thought there were different members of the jury who reacted to her differently. She was an unusual kind of witness, much more colorful, much more vivid and dramatic. So I thought overall fine. But I wouldn't be surprised if some among the jury were, a little bit nonplussed, and I don't know how it'll go back there. Remember, she's a witness. Doesn't matter for the law. She matters for the feeling of the case, the righteousness of the case. Even if she were making it all up, it wouldn't matter for the charges, and yet it would be devastating for the case. We want them to like her, and I think they largely did. I wondered, though, how you felt. I was uncertain.
I think Stormy Daniels, as Carrie said at the very beginning, is a sort of a complicated person, and she's a very conversational person who had her own objectives in being a witness. Again, I go back to the fact that for her, this was a traumatic event. She wanted to tell her truth, and her lived experience and how it fits into this case are not one and the same. And that posed problems for the prosecution in the sense that Susan Hoffinger, who took her direct examination, is an extremely experienced prosecutor. She's not a person that would just lead a witness casually or erroneously. And yet there were times where I felt like she was boxed and she didn't have any choice but to ask leading questions to prevent Stormy Daniels from going on and on about things that Mershon had already warned were irrelevant or prejudicial or both.
It's really interesting stuff.
What she said.
We're going to come back on Thursday, and we'll see. I mean, there'll probably be redirect, we imagine.
Sure.
And wow, what a day. Well, that was, honestly, I cannot thank you both enough. That was fantastic. You guys are putting in incredible work.
Thank you.
It was great. I feel like this is what I didn't even need to be there. I got exactly what I needed. Lisa Rubin, Harry Litman. Thank you both.